out of hatred and out of hate in school, I remember after repeating the first term I was number 1 actually, but from there I just had a negative attitude towards school. I started using bang, rolling out with the bad boys in the village and all that. You remember when I was growing up, I saw a drunk dad beating my mom. So getting to second year, I wasn't that strong. So immediately I was persuaded to get back into the other life after some few months. And that's how I go back again, due to the pressure, because you have so many ladies, you want to treat them good, you want to be in these parties. So I was back again into the gambling thing. I get into the casino at 12 p.m. I start gambling. I'm winning by 2 p.m. And you know, when you're winning, you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave as long as you are in the game. So it's 2 p.m. I realize I'm supposed to be in class, but I say, to hell with the exam, I will do it some other day. So my name is Mark Justin Kamau Irongo. I'm born in Keharo constituency, Murang'a County, a place called Kiagodho. And I'm 27 years old. And I'm born in a family of 4. I have my 3 sisters who are older than me. And I remember back then, my dad was into alcoholism for so long. My mom, on the other hand, took up the responsibility of bringing us up together with my grandfather, who was a Christian, full, staunch Christian, who believed in God on another level. So my mom, on the other hand, would sell milk to make sure that we go to school, and she hustled so hard to make sure that all of us, she met our needs. So my sisters went to public schools, all of them, when growing up. But when I was in class 2, my mom, out of love, out of concern, and she saw so much potential in me, she realized that for me, maybe to succeed, or maybe to walk out there and get to the fullest potential of myself, she went and told my grandfather that I feel like we need to take my son to a private school. So that's where life started. She wasn't able to pay that much, so I would be chased away at times. And all in all, I was able to complete up to class 8 back in 2008. And I remember at that time my dad had gone to a rehab at Asumbi Rehabilitation Center back in 2004. And he quit drinking, and that time he was 4 years sober. So he had started being a responsible man, and he's the one who told me that I will not take you to a high school at the moment because you didn't perform as I expected. I was lying to him at that time that I was always number 1, only for him to come to school before the KCPE and realize that I scored. I was always almost the last guy. I wasn't reading, I wasn't in school. I had started sneaking in with the bad boys in the village and all that. So I scored 319 marks, and he decided I had to go to another school and repeat the class 8. That's something I hated and I never wanted. So going back to school, out of hatred and out of hate in school, I remember after repeating the first term, I was number 1 actually, but from there I just had a negative attitude towards school. So I started using bang, rolling out with the bad boys in the village and all that. And I remember even being taken to a police station when I was in second term. And actually the headmaster of the primary school I had joined at that time decided that he's not going to keep me in school because I'm a negative attitude. I'm bringing a negative attitude in his school. So he decided that I had to first go out there, study at home, and then I'll come back during the KCPE, and that's what happened. So because of all these things, I never performed very well after repeating. I was able to add on to the marks I had, 3 marks only, because I scored 322 marks after repeating, and maybe 1 mark for each term. And I actually got a placement in the same school, Jombe High School, that I had been invited to during the first time. Actually, this time I had to bargain my way into the school. And this time my sisters had performed very well. One was in the University of Nairobi, the other one was in Kenya Polytechnic. Then right now I'm Tuk, and my other sister was also in life. At least they were doing something, and they're almost getting married. So joining high school, you remember when I was growing up, I saw a drunk dad beating my mom, doing stuff and all that. And I started hating him so much. I started hating anything about my family. I would hear bad things about my family and all that, and about my dad. And he had tried to quit alcohol for so many times, but he was unable. By this time now, at least he was 4 years sober now, and I completed high school, primary school. But all in all, I hated everything about life at that moment. I wanted to fit in. I felt like I wasn't social enough. Everybody was telling me you're going to end up like your dad. After realizing that I had developed the same behaviors as he had when I was in class 8. So I remember at that time nobody would even trust me. Get into high school, everybody was like, you're going to end up as a failure. I remember your dad took you to school to repeat and you're all up here, you even failed. I remember even after joining Form 1, I remember one day my dad leaving some chapels with me in Form 1, and the teacher found me selling to other students, and I had to be chased away. And that is where again indiscipline started when I was in Form 1. I remember I wasn't that good in school when I was starting up in high school. I remember I scored an E in physics, and that's why I dropped it when I was in Form 2. But some attitude came up, and I wanted to be successful when I was in Form 3. And I knew I was bright, but all along I had been wasting this potential. And I had wasted it to trying to please every other person. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted to feel like I'm not like my dad because of how I hated him so much. And the fact that I saw him beat my mom always made me emotional and all that. And getting to high school now, I want to fit in with these bad boys, the people who are always social with other people. They are always with other people all the time. And I remember even I was made a prefect, but just because I wanted to please people. When I was in Form 3, I refused and decided that I don't want to be a prefect anymore. And the headmaster, the principal was like, you know, you have that potential, you can be a great leader. But I never used to see all that. So I completed high school, and I had studied so hard, and I scored a B+ back in 2013. Got a place at the University of Nairobi. What motivated me so much is one week, I remember, my sister invited me to the University of Nairobi, and she was like, you see all these young men here who are studying, you see, if you come here, you're going to have a very bright future. Study hard and come to this school. And I got motivated by how I used to see people there, the stories I used to hear about university, how someone gets to be free and all that. At this time, my dad was working in a certain rehabilitation center at Nazareth when I was in Form 3. So we migrated from Murang'a to Banana area, which is in Kiambu. The proximity to Nairobi is so close. So it's actually 50 or 70 bob. And when living in Banana, I got to get some friends, and they started having a certain impact in my life. So now I'm in Form 3, we get to Banana, I start visiting my sister in the university and everything. I love everything about the university. So this motivated me so much, and that's why I scored the B+. So completing high school and going all the way to Nairobi, my sisters get married, all of them. They get to have such nice weddings, and people from my family specifically now start seeing something positive in me. I remember even during one of my sister's wedding, I performed a poem, and everybody was hugging me, telling me that today you deserve a hug and all that. So, so it went on. I had developed a relationship at that time with some guys out there and I had joined a certain church at that time called the ACK Banana Parish, but I wasn't that much into church. I felt like maybe it's not the right place for me. My grandfather at that time was always there for me, telling me about Proverbs 1, like my grandson, you know, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom and knowledge, fear him and all. But that wasn't what I was up to. I still wanted to fit in with these guys in Banana and all that, doing stuff with women and drugs and all that. But all in all, I never got hooked up with drugs at that moment because I hated it. I hated the fact that I saw my dad being in alcoholism, and I never wanted to be such kind of a man. So immediately then, my mom showed me some hustle where I would get to Modhurwa market, buy food items, and then cook for some Jengo people in a certain site that my sister was the head, because she had done the construction management and all that. So I used to take food there, and I developed some business acumen there, but at that time I started getting to know about women. So I was, and that time being in parties with these friends of mine and all that. So I never saved that much. I never had enough money, and I ended up borrowing money and with so much loans in that business, and that's how I messed up in the business. So I got into campus in 2015. I was invited to the University of Nairobi to study Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Psychology and Political Science. So initially I had chosen geography instead of psychology because I thought that I was the best in the whole of the ward, in this place I used to study at. And nobody had scored the grade I had scored in geography. So I thought I was good at geography. But I remember I studied it for 2 weeks and then started realizing that this is not what I wanted. So getting into campus, I remember I'm this guy now who has found new friends, who have shown me how Nairobi is like. I've started getting to be in so many relationships with women. I remember that's the time I broke up with my first love and all that. And I was still looking for this thing I would find in women, and I really wanted maybe some kind of love, to feel some kind of love. I never wanted to treat them like I used to see my dad treating my mom. I never wanted to be like my dad. I hadn't felt the love. I wanted to be given that love that my mom was giving me because she loved me very much. At that time, she would even send a friend of mine to bring me chapos in school and all that. So when I was getting into campus, I remember I was investing in shares. I had studied so much about shares. I really wanted to be rich. I wanted to be totally different from who my dad was. And one way I had to do that is I was obsessed to being rich. I was obsessed to making it out of the society. And that is where the problem started, because I was in a way greedy and I wanted to make it. Either way I wanted to make it. And that's the motivation, number one motivation of even me working so hard in high school to get that grade and to get into university. So I get into university, I get into a certain room where the people in that room are going to some places, they are gambling, they are getting into nightclubs. And one day they come tell me that we have been doing something that has giving us money. So at that time I was gambling in certain app called Support Pesa, and I won some money that day. And that motivated me. I never knew anything about gambling. And here it is, it's starting to get some hype in the market. So immediately I started realizing, there is something good, this is somewhere I can make money. Remember, I was the guy who was in shares and all that. And I had failed away in some shares because I wanted it quick. And you know, you have to study, you have to research so much for you to make it in that market. But I hadn't done that. So I invested one day after working so hard in some shares from a certain company and made some losses. And so that's how I quit on that. So I started gambling and all that. And then my friends were getting to the casino. So one day they take me to Kimathi Street, a casino down there called City Casino. And we go all the way to the third floor. We find some machines there, and they are better than the Sport Pesa app, because I had to pay on these online apps on the M-Pesa and all the charges. But here I just placed the 100 shillings into the machine, and immediately I placed my bet. So I thought it was good. So a few days later, we were getting out of the building with some friends, and I start asking myself, what is exactly in this place? It's a casino, but where exactly are there people in this building? Where is it that there are people in this building and they are so busy, they look so busy, some of them. I never noticed that there are people who are frustrated there. All I saw is, why exactly is the place like this? So I remember getting to a certain machine, a round machine, which I will later learn it's called the roulette. And I find a certain mzee, close to the age of my dad, or even older than my dad. I ask him, what exactly do you guys do here? So he tells me, give me 500 shillings and I will show you what we do. So I give him the money. In a minute, the money has multiplied. He gives me 2,500. I give him 500. I am left with 2,000 shillings. So when I go back to school, I start thinking, this is how billionaires become. This is how people get to become rich. So I get back to school. I am inviting everybody to come into the casino. I am telling them, this is how people with Range Rovers make money. So let's go back. Although some people got to quit on that thing, the drive was still there for me to continue gambling. So I remember after my first semester, I went to stay with my sister. actually after my first year, second semester, I started living with my sister. And at that time, they had a hardware with the husband, and they started a new one, and I was the one to start it off with them. It picked up. I was very aggressive and all that. Something I'm good at, creating the customers and all that, and I'm good in sales and all that. But in the end, I used to get the money, take it to the place, the casino. But after, you know, my brother-in-law, on the other hand, hated gambling, didn't want anything to do with gambling. He lived a life where it's all about the hustle. Such a great man. So in that process, he motivated me to quit on gambling, and I told him whatever I had been doing in casinos and all that, and he told me, you have to quit that thing with all you have. So when I got into second year, I actually had quit gambling. I had changed some friends. I had told them that I had gone born again, but I don't join any church or any group of people. I was still doing some other things, hanging out with ladies, having affairs with them, and I was still not fully into spirituality. So getting to second year, I wasn't that strong. So immediately I was persuaded to get back into the other life after some few months. And that's how I got back again, due to the pressure, because you have so many ladies, you want to treat them good, you want to be in these parties. So I was back again into the gambling thing. And this time, you know, it came with, now I started realizing that I'm starting to have losses, money. I am given money in a week's time for a week by my sister, or the help money, I use it all in a day or even an hour. And I was making losses every single day. I started having issues in school. I remember there were times when I am having exams and I can't even, I remember one day I had an exam at the main campus, and I got into the exam room 30 minutes late. And I only went to that exam because I lost all the money I had. Actually, the exam was supposed to be at 2. I get into the casino at 12 p.m. I start gambling. I'm winning by 2 p.m. And you know, when you're winning, you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave as long as you are in the game. So it's 2 p.m. I realize I'm supposed to be in class, but I say, to hell with the exam, I will do it some other day. But at 2:30, I have no money, and I decide, let me just go to the exam room. So you can imagine, I wrote nothing on that paper. I just wrote it for the sake. And I failed in that unit and scored a grade I had to repeat. So I made many mistakes then. In second year, I ended up, my sisters, everybody at home started realizing that I had a problem. They stopped sending money, and now I had to do other stuff like selling clothes from Gikomba. And although I would sell it, I would con people, find a way to get money and all, and lie to my uncles and all that. And that's how I used to survive in the university anyway. I wouldn't even go back to my sister's place over the holidays. I went back home. At home, I don't want to stay there with my mom and my dad because of all these issues I'm facing back at home, the fights and all that. So I come back, I start living with some cousin of mine. He's also hooked up. So I also get hooked up into drugs. I start using gambling as my way of making money, the casino way. And I start getting frustrated. Although at this time, I don't have the suicidal thoughts, but I am getting into a place where I feel like this is getting to my nerves. Like, I am getting to a place where things are not going the way they are supposed to go to. Remember, this was the same ambitious Mark. Now this Mark has turned into something terrible. So I remember after second year, I started scoring bad grades. I started having the affairs with ladies was on another level. And though I had friends, they would see, and not many would even give me money or lend me with money. But I had to find ways to con them, some of them stealing from them. So I get to that year now. Remember, I haven't even seen my sisters for some time. Some of them, I never even visit them. I never want to see people because now, even though most of them don't know that I have a problem, I do believe, they still believe that Mark is the same ambitious guy who went to university and all that. But I still know that I'm not the guy who I'm supposed to be. So that year, my grandfather gets to know that I'm gambling. That made him weak. He actually was telling me that anytime I call you, I feel like I will fall because of all the things. After all I have done for you, Kama, why are you going down this road? But I never used to listen anyway. So that year I came. A friend of mine called Walker had introduced me to church. So, and he had taken me to one of the services at the university, as a church called St. Andrews. And at that time, I started feeling like maybe I should go to church because the problems I'm seeing in my life, I don't want to go on like this. And I told him everything that was happening. Actually, even some other friends had known that I was a gambler and all that. And I remember when, you see, this is a guy who was at a little bit, like 20% believed that there was God, and believed that although I was that guy who was in church and another life, I used to live 50-50, a double life. I never felt like church is good, church people are good, they judge and all that. And on the other hand, I wanted to party and be with ladies and all, and have that good life that I thought was a good life. So that year comes, my friend introduced me to church. My sister had also told me about CU, and although she introduced me to some members because she was the CU secretary, they called me and I blocked them because I never wanted to be with the CU. But on the other hand, now my friend takes me to the church. I join the church. Immediately I get to church, I am amazed. You know, it's the campus fellowship. These guys are from different campuses, something I've never seen. We start going for missions, and I feel like this is the place I want to be. And I start declaring I'm born again. The gambling fades. I don't have the urges again. I stay for like 2 months without even gambling. But I haven't changed my lifestyle. Same lifestyle. Actually, now I realize that there are fine girls in church who are outgoing, who are amazing. So I started having relationships with them. Remember, I'm still the same guy who is dealing with, I don't have the self-love. I'm not in love fully. Some people even thought I wasn't shy. I was so much in love with myself, but I wasn't. I still felt like I need people to help me heal through the process. So I remember even I broke up with one lady when I was joining church, just to be with another lady from church, you see, and which was a big mistake. And now I started working on the relationship instead of me, because I want to maintain the relationship, and this is a lady who is keeping me at, and because of respect, I don't want to mention names, and I had to keep up with her lifestyle. And you see here, I'm supposed to be, so she was like, you're not supposed to be staying in the hostel and all that. And that's how I rented even a place from outside the hostel, because now I'm making some money. Because anytime the gambling goes, I'm the guy who is ambitious, I'm the guy who is out there hustling hard, looking for ways to make money. And so we broke up. It drained me off mentally. Remember, I had started a life where I was living outside the hostel and I'm in school, so I'm supposed to keep up with the two. So gambling found its way back. And this time I'm still with another relationship. I get into another relationship immediately to help me heal from the other one, which was again a mistake. And that's how I went back again to gambling, back in 2019. And this time now, because everybody from church knows that Mark is born again, Mark had quit gambling. I had even formed a movement called Confession Club, where we used to go to places in the villages telling them how addiction is dangerous, how people who get addicted may end up, you don't even finish school, you become the dad or the mom who the kid doesn't adore and all that. So I now go back into gambling. I started having the shame and the guilt of people knowing that I am back. And that's how I found myself back into the casino again, gambling. And now, you see, when you quit this thing and go back into it, it becomes worse. Then the demons came. I started thinking of committing suicide. And for the first time ever, I tried it. I actualized it, I remember, in the house I had rented. And that very morning, some friends come, they rush me to hospital, my mom is crying, everybody is concerned, the whole family, we meet in a hotel at Thika Road, they want to discuss what exactly we can do to Mark, to see why exactly is he wanting to commit suicide. So I talked to them, and they promised to pay all the debts that I have, to get my phones from the Shylock, because I had given all my items, I had sold the laptops I had been given by my sisters, and I was basically having only clothes at that time. So I'm paid for everything, which in a way enabled me now not to work on me and not to work on the food and the issue. It only took away the responsibility for a short time. But after a week, I started realizing now everybody knows that Mark has tried to commit suicide. So everybody knows that Mark is a weak guy, Mark is foolish. That's how I was seeing it, like everybody. And at this time, my friends saw much potential in me. Actually, they were there. I remember I had a roommate I called Ndwati. We got to know each other in second year, living in the same room. So much potential in me, believed in me, but I couldn't see that. The ladies I'm dating at that time, they see so much potential in me, which I couldn't see. Inside me, I still struggle with esteem issues. And that is why I ended up going back into gambling after a week. It actually didn't last a week. And And at that time, a friend of mine had called me, told me that he has fake money. And so I tried to take it into the casino. And that's how I ended up going back into it. So this time, my brother-in-law gets to know that I'm back into it. They are disappointed. They don't know how to help me. And it is at this time I'm completing now for the year. Though I have some missing mark and some grades I have to repeat. When it comes to the fake money, I remember I took it into one of the casinos, and some cashier got to know that I'm placing some fake money into the machine. So, and that's how I got banned from City Casino at that time. They almost took me to the police, but I don't know how they didn't take me to it. So I got banned into that casino. So I started looking for other casinos now. Remember, I was only used to that. So now this is another big now mistake. I'm jumping from the pot into the fire. Like now I started getting to know these other casinos. I get to know about jokers. I get to know about other casinos in Westlands. And that's how I now, I came back now big time. Because I had sold my rooms in school, I started living with a friend called Walker at that time again. And I remember I used to lie, steal from him. I'm lying to him at night that I'm in the casino winning. And actually I was winning in casino. And I'm stealing even from some rooms from other comrades. And this day I lied to him. I remember one day I lied to him when I was in a casino in Westlands that I'm winning money. And I was winning actually. I had gone up to 25,000 shillings. So I'm winning money. Then all of a sudden I lose it all, and that's how gambling works. You know, you don't want to leave because of the hype you are getting and all that. So I tell them with all my friends, you guys don't cook, don't even do any shopping. I'm coming back by 9 p.m. to bring you the shopping. You know, the casinos in a way they have the lightings and all that too, and you won't even remember, when the morning is coming. So when I was losing the last amount, I realized it was at 2 a.m. I go back into the room, I find them there, they haven't eaten supper, they are waiting for me, they are so frustrated. I remember even one day they had been told by my sister to come for me in town and beat me up, which they did, and I was so angry at them. I felt like, why are you doing this? At this time I have some girls who saw so much potential in me, but I wouldn't see it. And I ended up jumping from one to the other, hurting them, trying to look for love from one place to the other, and I ended up hurting so many of them at that time. So I complete for the year. Immediately at that time, I have this girlfriend who is like, let's see if we have a solution. And I want you to be the best version of you. And I know you can be. Let's see if we can go to a rehab. At this time, I know much about rehab. My dad has been there. So I decided, let me go to rehab. I go to rehab in 2019 when it's coming to an end. I remember October 10, Mashujaa Day, we get to rehab. A whole rehab for 30 days. For 90 days, I actually have some details of how it was. I meet some guys there who start encouraging me about recovery. But these are guys who had alcoholism cases. I had never seen anybody who has gone through gambling and quit. And actually the people in casinos and all these places were like, if you start this thing, you never quit. And I never saw any successful stories. So this again had made me feel unmotivated. I felt like I had messed up. And that's why, part of the reason is why I had tried to commit suicide so many times. So at this time I get into rehab. I start working the progress, and there is so much progress in me. My friends are happy, the girl I am with is happy, my family is happy. So I leave after 3 months. But again, I feel like I did this program to please some people, to make them stay in my life. I never did fully for me, because at this time I was supposed to do it alone. If I was getting into church, I was supposed to do the process alone. But these are processes I avoided, yeah, and they had to hunt me later. So I immediately leave rehab. I feel so much peace. I make very great new friends. I'm now starting to see a better future. I go back into the village. I start some businesses there. I rent some house. Not knowing what to do, I get into Gekoba market. And at that time there was Corona, and these people start trusting me, the ladies there, I'm the one selling bales to them. I start making good money. And I remember by October 2020, I was making big money. I bought so many items in my house, and everybody was loving the new Mark. I was social to people and all that. But at this time, what these people didn't see is a Mark who had started drinking, because I have the money, and I still think I can control alcoholism. I can control alcohol. So to lie to myself, I'm drinking the cheap liquor. Not the cheap, the liquor which has a low concentration of alcohol, like the 4% and thinking that it will help me, I'm still hanging out now with these guys the people we are doing businesses with. Are people who are bringing me to places where I will play pool table for money. I will hang out with the ladies there. So I have so many relationships with women, remember, and even though I have relationship, I'm still having some relationship with women and all that. So in the end, I started having so many pressures after some time at Gikomba market. Remember, I never even stayed for a year at Gikomba, but the things I had done, even my friends were saying, hey, it's like you've been there for 5 years. These are all things I could never say. I never saw the potential I had or what I could do if I quit this gambling. And that's what gambling, that's what addiction usually does to us. So immediately, I started having pressures. Like, the money I'm getting is not now fulfilling the high lifestyle I'm living. So I started borrowing money from these ladies, women from Gikomba who have trusted me, and men who are owning, they started even lending me bills because they trust me. Some of them used to call me to help them sell the bills. And at this time, I remember some of them used to trust me with their bills. And sometimes they would forget that they gave me 20 bills and they would think they had given me 15. But I won't tell them the truth. I will make sure that I pocket the 5 remaining, which wasn't right. And all these things were giving me shame. Although people in my life were thinking the market had changed, inside me, I still felt that I wasn't doing the right thing. So I remember, start of 2021, my grandfather dies. It hits me, and I haven't dealt with it. My mom, on the other hand, is going through so many issues at that time. She's in so much alcoholism, and she's going through so much pressure at that time, texting me all the time that she has so much pressure in life. She feels like and actually her sister dies that time, and that adds on to the pressure. So I'm dealing with all these issues. I still have those voices which are telling me that you will end up like your dad. I have issues with my dad. And I remember one day even my grandfather sitting me down with my dad and telling me, you have to forgive your father if you have got born again, if you have changed. But I never used to listen to all that. I told my grandfather in front of my dad that I'm never going to forgive him. So 2021 comes, my grandfather dies. I still have so many pressures in life. Business at Gikomba is not that good. So I borrow money from a certain lady at that time. She gives me 20 G's, and I lose it immediately because I started now gambling online, and I'm gambling with pool guys. I'm in relationships with women which need a lot of money and all that. So that's how the things I had bought at when I was at Gikomba market didn't even last a week. I sold all of them, gambled them away. Then I started looking for a job because I had to run away from people I had stolen from at Gikomba market, headed all the way to a rehab in old Rimuru Road, and nobody knows what I'm doing at that time. So I start working at this rehab. I have a phone and all, that's the only thing I have in my life at that time, and clothes. So I get to the rehab, I start working there, and I felt like if I go back to rehab and work there without telling anybody, maybe these guys are going to see that I'm going to lie to these people that this is my journey, this is where I want to be at.